questions yesterday. William, I'd be super interested to see an interaction between a porcupine and a penguin. I'm guessing that the penguins would not like the idea of a porcupine at all. I think the sound of the quills, because porcupines can be quite noisy when they run, I think that sound might actually scare the penguins a little, but porcupines are mostly nocturnal, and so it's likely that at the time where the porcupines are hanging around, the penguins might be in their nests, so they might make a little bit of a noise to try and scare the porcupine away, but I think likely they would just stay in their nests and just try to keep safe. Porcupines would want nothing to do with penguins, so they wouldn't pick fights with each other per se, but porcupines are big, bulky, and quite noisy with their quills rattling, so I think that the penguins wouldn't enjoy their presence. And you can see that the crazy eights are really tucking into this very young June spinach here. So we've seen the Egyptian geese here eat algae along the seashore, particularly sea lettuce. And we also know that they enjoy the June spinach. Maybe they like to hang out here because there's a lot more space than what there is on the beach for a nice big family. There really is so many different theories when you start looking at why animals do things. There's so many different reasons why they could be here versus the left wing where they've spent most of their time. It looks like many of the ducklings are settling in for a sleep now, and I see 7 ducklings here, so I'm really hoping the one has fledged or is hanging out somewhere else. And I'm going to answer our 2 unanswered questions from yesterday just a bit later on when we settle down with some penguins.
The Masai Mara in Kenya, a remote landscape where wilderness reigns. Its inspirational beauty captivates the hearts of many around the world. This year, from August, WildEarth is leading a number of unique expeditions to follow Africa's greatest wildebeest migration here in the Masai Mara. And now, the remaining places have been discounted by 20%. Head over to our website to find out. We want to make it even easier for you to interact with our guides whilst watching WildEarth. When you see a QR code like this pop up on your screen, then open your phone camera, point it at the code, and you will be taken directly to our question page. Simple as that. Then you can let us know what you want to see, ask questions, and much more.
I've had it before where I've been walking and the waterbuck's jumped out of the grass. It's quite a frightening experience.
WildEarth, it's in your nature.
I think we're going to head off from these ducklings, and one of the unanswered questions actually I want to answer because it was about Egyptian geese, and yesterday the question was how far will they travel, and the one answer I found was up to 800 kilometers. And the way that we know how individual birds travel is you can put trackers on them, but most of the birds and bird travel that we understand because of a practice known as bird ringing. So what they do is they will gently pick up a bird and they will put a ring around its leg, and then you can take a photograph of that ring and you record the number, and then wherever you see a bird in South Africa, if you take a photograph of the ring and you get the number, you can type it into a website called Safring, and then you're able to see the history of the bird, so where it was first ringed. And you can see how far away you are from that original site. And bird Ringing is a very interesting practice because it still very much works on a sort of apprenticeship type of system. So it can take you a couple of years to become a qualified ringer, and you need to be taught by someone who is qualified. You can ring anything from a tiny plover or a sparrow to an eagle if they are in rehabilitation. But I think Jay and I are going to keep moving and see what else we can spot. So this is the wide open expanse where they used to pull the whales up onto the slipway. Now this is a human path. You might not think that there's very much life here, but underneath the sand we have lots and lots of beach hoppers. And when it rains, this water doesn't, or this soil doesn't drain. So all the beach hoppers that explode from the soil so that they're able to escape, because they can't live in water, they need to live in sand. It looks like we've got a Cape Cormorant flock who've settled down onto the breakwater. So kelp is very much sort of the staple algae and the most common algae along this western side of Cape Town, along the west coast of southern Africa. So kelp is something that has been here since the beginning of the ecosystem, really. But it is expanding towards the east. So the kelp beds have expanded, I think, by about 70 kilometers from the last thing that I read. So they're going towards Cape Agulhas, because the water here overall is actually getting colder. So I know we always talk about how the earth is warming, but the water temperature here is very much driven by wind. And so when the wind is blowing from the southeast, like it is today, it makes the water colder. And where you have these colder waters, they're more nutrient rich. I actually like the cold water because the nutrients are the perfect conditions for the kelp forests to be able to grow. So in some areas of the world, kelp forests are in trouble, but in South Africa, kelp forests are actually doing very well. I think we're going to take this chance to hop on the boardwalk. There's nobody else here. You're getting some lovely views of what you would see if you had to come down to Stony Point, and all of our Cape Cormorants look like they might fly off now. So you'll see one starts and they're all going to head off. They love to do this before a show. Whenever we've planned a show about Cape Cormorants, they all get up and go moments before the show starts. They're a very communal species of cormorant. And they always fly one behind each other to save energy. So they slipstream like cyclists. So the guy at the front does all the hard work. All the cormorants behind him will reap the benefits because they'll save energy. You'll also never see them fly over land for that very reason, for energy saving. Christopher, I love your question because you'd be surprised to know that I would say at least once a month since I've been here have I seen things that I've never seen before. You know, I think the longer you spend in any ecosystem, the more it reveals itself to you. So last week I saw white-necked ravens here for the very first time. Unfortunately, we didn't get to go live that day. But the ocean and you know, ecosystems reveal themselves the more time you spend in them. And I'd say at least once a month I'm seeing something that I thought, I didn't think that would occur here, or I've never seen it here before. And it's something I love about the ocean and about the ecosystem that we work in, is that it's open. So in theory you could see anything. These cormorants have been up and down today, so I do wonder if they've found some fish somewhere. Looks like the cormorants sitting down are just having a break from their foraging. Sometimes they will sit on the water and just relax on the water. And very often you'll see cormorants sitting on this breakwater. Think of all the birds that we have here. It's mostly the cormorants that frequent it. Jamie, so Cape cormorants are exactly the same as African penguins. So they love their sardine and their anchovy. That's their favorite food. Looks like they're all about to take off. And very interesting, we had Alistair McInnes here, who's done a lot of work on penguins and a bit of work on cormorants, and he was saying that you can actually tell how well a cormorant is eating by how skittish they are of people. So I found that really cool. But Cape cormorants, African penguins, Cape gannets, they've all specialized to feed on sardines and anchovies, which are really nice, oily, high-energy fish. And I think Jay and I are going to get moving. It looks like we've got some people coming down the boardwalk. So I hope that you enjoyed getting to see our cormorants. I think maybe we'll try to find some dussies for this show as well, if we move a little bit further along. And this week we've got some exciting things coming up. So starting tomorrow, we've got 3 days where we're really going to focus on conservation. So we'll talk about the cool conservation practices that they have at Stony Point. I'll talk about some awesome conservation projects around. Would you like the tripod for this, Jay, or do you want to keep moving? I've just given this dusty a touch of a fright.
School is out, and in the midst of all the excitement, WildEarth has created some fun new t-shirts so that our wild kids and future conservationists can get out, run, jump, play, and explore nature freely in something that's made for a little outdoors rough and tumble. Find this and so much more on our shop. WildEarth Kids. It's in your nature. WildEarth Explorers is a club aimed at people who love nature and care about the earth we live on. First and foremost, if you join our club, you can watch WildEarth completely ad-free. In addition, we have great monthly prize draws, a weekly newsletter, and access to some great extra content such as fireside chats, AMAs, and hangouts. For a small monthly subscription, you can join other like-minded viewers and be part of the club. WildEarth Explorers.
So Jason's just having a slow wander, and we're going down to Cove, where we hope to spend some time with the penguins. We were going to do a fast 5 question questions, but we've actually done most of our walking already, so I think we'll have to skip that for today. I was just saying that we're going to be talking about conservation over the next couple of days, and we're also going to have an Ask Me Anything about conservation with Tess and James, and I think that's going to be really cool to hear about some low-felt conservation, the work that's being done in the bush. And we're going to give you the sea perspective leading up to Marine Protected Area Day, which is on the 1st of August. Joey, so that's a good question to ask. So this is actually just one colony of penguins here at Penguin Beach. So we only have one colony, but it is set up into different sections. And so when they are looking at the colony and looking at the breeding success of the colony, there's certain parts of the colony that seem to do better, and there's certain parts of the colony where more experienced birds will go to breed. So where we just were was the left wing, which is sort of a more isolated part of the colony in the sense that the birds tend to go up into the dune vegetation and nest there. And then we're in a much rocky area of the colony at the moment, which is characterized by these quartzite rocks that we've been having a look at. But generally you wouldn't have sub-colonies of African penguins within a colony. You would consider one area where there's lots of penguins a single colony. So Dyer Island, for example, the penguins breed in different areas on the island, but that's still considered one penguin colony. And I think that we are settled into our spot. Jay's just going to move the camera one more time. And then we're going to spend the rest of our show with the penguins down here at Oystercatcher Cove. And we had a very cool unanswered question yesterday asking about what the largest marine protected area is. And in South Africa, it would be the Prince Edward Islands. So I was quite excited about that because yesterday my answer as to what I would protect would be a lot of open ocean and desolate ocean. The Prince Edward Islands are not necessarily open ocean, but it encompasses the South African islands. So there's an island called Marion Island. Oh, the seal, there's a seal. Do you see him there, Jay? He's sleeping just above the penguins at Jacuzzi. So the protected area is about 180,000 kilometers squared, and it's home to about 40% of the world's wandering albatross. So it's South Africa's only islands that really fall into the sub-Antarctic ecosystem, and so we've protected much of our sub-Antarctic territory, which I think is amazing. And down at Marion Island, you've got penguins, you've got lots of orcas, you've got elephant seals, and I believe it's the sub-Antarctic fur seal that breeds there, but I might be under correction. So that's South Africa's largest marine protected area.
After an exhilarating day of live safaris,
what better than to cozy up around a fire?
sign up to be a WildEarth explorer and let our guides enchant you with their stories and exciting animal encounters. And of course, stand a chance to join in the chat and get your questions answered in real time. So what are you waiting for? Join the Explorers Club today and start to enjoy our special evenings around the fire. WildEarth Explorers, it's in your nature. We are offering our explorers another extraordinary WildEarth experience. Explorers stand a chance to win a 3-night stay for 2 at Amakhala Game Reserve, picturesquely situated next to Addo Elephant Sanctuary Park. Enjoy an authentic bush lodge experience in the luxurious Woodbury tented camp and feel the heartbeat of Africa on exhilarating safari drives. Sign up to be an explorer today and you might soon be off to this untouched safari destination with WildEarth.
camera's just going to get a bit shaky. We've got some people walking by us, so just bear with us for a little bit. We are looking at a Campfire seal, South Africa's only endemic seal species. And I think this is the same naughty seal that likes to hang out on that rock. So this is the seal that we had the other day. And at this time of day, it is very normal for them just to sleep. But I think that this seal has decided that this is a nice place to set up a home, which is of course not a great thing for our penguins, because these seals have a nasty habit of going after penguins. So we're just going to take a wider view until everyone passes us. You can see there are some penguins that are fairly close to that seal. They're checking him out and having a look at him. But that seal does not seem at all bothered by the penguins watching him or the people walking by. He just wants to enjoy his nap in the sun. The penguins seem to be a lot more relaxed with that seal around today, so I don't know if he's maybe been laying there for quite some time, so he hasn't been terrorizing them. But I was doing some reading about the marine protected areas, and around the world there's 15,000 marine protected areas, which I thought was really amazing. And because there's this global push to protect the ocean, or a third of the ocean by 2030, or 2030 rather, I really hope it's before 2030, they are really working towards more marine protected areas. And so there's about 3,000 marine protected areas that are in the process of being protected. And that makes me really hopeful. I think so many countries are realizing the benefits of protecting their wild ocean spaces. And the largest marine protected area in the world is over 1 million kilometers squared, and it is the Ross Sea region. So there's an agreement between the USA and New Zealand to protect this area. So that's a really large marine protected area. But most of them are fairly small. South Africa's largest marine protected area is not along our coastline. And the reason for that would be just because it's very difficult to protect large areas of coast, because there are people using the coastline. There's ships going by, there's people who want to fish. And so a lot of your marine protected areas are smaller to accommodate space for both humans and wild animals and wildlife. Watching the penguins when they look that dozy with their eyes just flicker. And it's nice to see them looking that relaxed. And those penguins are nice and snuggly there. So this is a good example of penguins showing affection. We've had a couple of questions like that recently, and this is pretty much as affectionate as it gets. It's a penguin resting its head on another penguin. I do see the chicks tend to be a little bit more cuddly, both with their parents and each other. So they tend to snuggle up a lot more. But I think that's true of many baby animals. In fact, most baby animals, we tend to be very tactile. Touch is very important. there's a juvenile, a couple of juveniles that are very close to the adults there. And we have one molting adult that Jay's got for us there. It's a bit strange that this adult is molting at this time of year. I have wondered about this because a lot of the juveniles molt at this time of year because this is when they're fledged. But he seems to be getting through his molt okay. He seems to be well on his way to being done. You can see those old feathers are pale in color and the body is busy expelling them. So when Alistair was here the other day, Alistair was saying that according to the most recent conservation studies, so the African penguin is the most endangered penguin. So it's not necessarily to do with numbers, but it's to do with the rate of decline. So the African penguin, because the numbers have declined so quickly, they are more threatened than the Galapagos and the yellow-eyed penguin, which are the two other very threatened species. So African penguins are teetering on the brink, but I think you've seen in the last week there is so much work being done to try and ensure that that's not going to happen.
I started watching WildEarth at the beginning of COVID and I haven't looked back since. I've seen all of the leopards I wanted to see in Marieb's. He's been so playful and such a character. I had to remind myself to breathe at some points. To see those two cubs made me very emotional. It's just been brilliant. It's just blown me away.
So something that penguin scientists are looking at the moment is, protecting these individual colonies, because every colony requires different sort of management. And over 1,000 breeding pairs in a colony means the colony is doing fairly well. And if the numbers drop below that, then they worry about a local extinction. But then what was also very interesting, what Alistair was saying, is that with the IUCN, they do classify the different colonies, and they're looking at reclassifying the colonies in Algoa Bay, and particularly St. Croix Island, where the penguins have seen quite a sharp decline. And they're looking at reclassifying that as a critically endangered colony, which will then, of course, lead to more government protection. Which I found really interesting, and you can actually apply to have it assessed. So the IUCN will automatically reassess birds every 5 to 10 years. But if you feel that your penguin colony or your species is really struggling, you can apply to the IUCN and they can reassess it, which I think is a really amazing system, because if there is a quick decline, you can very quickly, get to the IUCN and hopefully then put in some more protective measures. Jay, do you have a double-banded penguin there? That's very exciting. So most African penguins have one band, but just under 5% of African penguins have two bands on their chest or on their neck. And Jay's managed to find one for us. The Magellanic penguins, which is their closest cousin, all have two bands. See, I penguin feet, and if it was penguin feet, I also really love penguin feet. I think they're really cute. They've got these dinosaur type feet. And there's the one penguin, Jay, do you see that juvenile? He's pretty much in line with me. He's preening his chest at the moment. He's got his feet really close together. He's like curled them together, which is really sweet. It's very funny. I was thinking about it on the boardwalk yesterday because there was one penguin who had his foot up, and I find that really adorable. And I can't stand human feet. I think that the most horrid part of the human body, I think there's a reason why they're so far away from our faces, but I love animal feet. Like penguin feet are so cute. I love dog paws. And I feel like humans really got the short end of the stick when we got feet. The penguins look like they've got little dinosaur claws.
School is out, and in the midst of all the excitement, WildEarth has created some fun new t-shirts so that our wild kids and future conservationists can get out, run, jump, play, and explore nature freely in something that's made for a little outdoors rough and tumble. Find this and so much more on our shop. WildEarth Kids. It's in your nature.
So we found a very miserable looking penguin who's right at the end of his molt. So his face is molting. And if you have a look at his belly, you can actually see, I think that's where his skin stretched when he went out and fished very much and had lots of fat on his body to survive the molt. And I think that sagging tummy that we see is because now there's no fat left. He's depleted that sitting on the shoreline. And so he needs to go and feed quite soon. But he looks super uncomfortable with his face feathers all molting. You'll see most of the penguins have these beautiful round bellies, which shows us they're nice and healthy. But that little guy is not in the best condition, but we're not worried about him because he'll very soon be able to go and find himself some fish. And all of these penguins do have to molt once a year. Diving takes it out of feathers. You know, the sea is not very kind to the feathers, and going up and down in the water column is really not so great. So they do need to molt once a year so that they've got new feathers, which can help them dive better and spend more time in the water. And there's other animals that also molt. So the Campfire Seal that we were looking at, they also molt their fur. Darkwing lover, I don't have the answer for that question, but I'm going to message my friend Kaylee and get it from the horse's mouth straight after the show, because she's done a lot of penguin rehab work. The shortest, I would say it's fairly long. I think the idea is to keep the penguins in captivity for as little time as humanly possible. But my guess would maybe be minimum of 3 days if they picked up a penguin and then the penguin was suddenly fine. I'd say more likely a week to 2 weeks, but we'll have to see how wrong I am on that. I've actually never thought about that, so that's going to be an interesting one to ask her. But I want us to go have a look at that seal again. So Campfire seals molt, but they don't undergo a catastrophic molt like the penguins. But elephant seals undergo quite an ugly molt once a year. So their skin gets all manky, and they look a bit mangy. Oh, he's got his flipper up. Oh, he's having a stretch. So that seal is just rolling a little bit. He's just readjusting himself for his nap. So just letting the people walk by, and then we'll go have a closer look at him again. So the Campfire seal is not a true seal. So I've mentioned this before. You get two different types of seals. You get the true seals, like the elephant seal, and then you get your fur seals and your sea lions, who fall into the same family. And with fur seals and sea lions, you can see the ears on the side of their head. Not of this guy, because he looks like one brown sausage. But if you have a close look at them, at their faces, you can see the ears. And then they also have a rotational pelvis, which allows them to climb up onto these rocks. But Jay, I just want us to go have a look. Behind me, there's a penguin in the water. It's a juvenile penguin who's calling. He's just gone down now. So we'll see if we can find him. He's not making a normal penguin sound. It sounds like a caw, caw. So I'll see if he comes up again, or if I just made a fool of myself. He's there. He's quite far in the middle of the slip now.
Would you like to have your finger on the pulse of WildEarth? Are you curious about what happens behind the scenes? And would you like a catch-up on the best moments from the week, delivered straight to your inbox?
How cool is this? And oops, don't lose it.
Then it's time to join the Explorers Club and receive the weekly newsletter. Head over to our website to find out more.
Wow, what a way to start off.
Look at that. That's amazing.
This is so exciting.
Oh, awesome.
There you go. Heart is pumping right now.
Look at that.
So we've moved away from that penguin that was in the water because it stopped calling as I pointed it out. So the penguin just wanted to make me make cawing sounds before disappearing. But when penguins do go out to fish, sometimes they'll go out and then you'll hear them calling for other penguins to join them. So that's what I was really hoping to show you. And there's something that really happens as a guide quite often, and it's actually a question I want to pass over to Tess and James, of guiding that you've done. I'll ask the question in a moment. Logan is asking if seals have similar texture of skin to elephants. I would say that the elephant seal does look it. They definitely look like they're, especially when they're molting. But I think I don't know what their skin would feel like. Their fur, I think, is fairly rough. It looks quite rough. I think the pups are quite soft. Admittedly, I have never touched a Cape fur seal. I nearly called it an African fur seal, because you don't really want to touch them. They have very, very sharp teeth, and they have a really flexible neck. But I think that their fur would be quite rough. I have actually touched seal fur before, when there was a shark that had a buoy in its mouth. So not a human buoy, but a floaty yellow thing. And I was on a boat that actually managed to dislodge that buoy. And when we took it out of the water, I picked it up, and I was actually showing it to everyone on the boat because it was very interesting, and we got to help the shark. But then on the buoy, on the floaty yellow thing, the U-Y. I just want to make this very clear. There was seal fur, because obviously that shark had been eating seals, and we called that shark popcorn. And then it felt really rough. The fur, it wasn't like a comfortable soft fur. So I've just gone a little bit off my train of thought, but that's why I think that they would have quite rough fur, I think, because I'm remembering that texture from that we sort of retrieved pieces of fur from the mouth of a shark. So that's the only thing that really eats the Cape fur seal here. And what I wanted to actually pass on to Tess and James is every guide has had this experience where you will say something like, oh, that's so rare. So for example, when I was growing up, we went on a game drive in the Kruger Park, and we went on a game drive and we saw a white-tailed mongoose, and the guide was very excited because he's like, it's so rare, you never see a white-tailed mongoose. And then we went on to see about 5 or 6 on that same game drive. And every guide has this experience where you see something you've not seen before, or you see something that's really rare, and then you tell everyone who's with you, oh, this is such a rare sighting, and then it happens again and again and again, or you see many of that animal, and then you look like you don't know what you're talking about. So every guide has this moment where you'll point something out and then the animal completely disappears, so you look like a fool. So I'd actually love to hear from Tess and James. What have they had in line with that experience where they've made a fool of themselves, or the animals have made a fool of them? I think it'd be interesting to hear their stories. I think particularly when you're watching animals out at sea, you'll say you see something and then it dives. And as a guide, no matter how many times, you always have that doubt that you didn't see something and that you were just making it up.
Delve deeper into what WildEarth can offer you. Register for free on our website, and you can interact with our guides whilst watching your favorite show. Once registered, you will also have access to some extra special content.
There might be something along here. I think we should go have a look.
Registration includes filling in your email address and creating a password. It's that easy. WildEarth, it's in your nature.
Here on WildEarth, we love it when you interact with our guides while they are live. In order to do this, you must head over to wildearth.tv/questions and submit your questions, comments, and suggestions. Simple as that. And to make it even simpler, from time to time, you will see a QR code on your screen. Open your camera phone and scan this code, and it will take you straight to where you need to be. We look forward to answering your questions on this channel.
So Jason's giving you some beautiful views now of cormorants on the rock, and you can see there's a bit of human infrastructure there from the whaling era. And behind that rock you can see Gansbaai. So I'm moving back to Gansbaai today, so I'm very excited. The Gansbaai is the mountain directly behind the Cormorant Rock. And if Jason just goes a little bit to the left, you'll see there's these beautiful white sandy beaches called Die Plaat. And if we show you those sandy beaches, that's the main whale watching site in the area. So that area has the highest concentration of southern right whales after De Hoop and St. Sebastian Bay. So that's where I used to work. And if you ever visit South Africa, and if you ever come down this way, you'd need to visit Stony Point, but I'd also highly recommend taking a visit to those white sandy beaches. They are really gorgeous. And that's also a site, an early man site. So there's a cave called Klipgat Cave where those sandy beaches are, where people used to live, and there's a shell midden, and there's beautiful caves that you can go into. So things are just going to get a bit shaky, so pretend you're on a boat for the next 3 minutes. But we've got a nice big herd of people walking by. can see we've got lots of sleepy penguins on the seashore. And a very gentle swell today compared to yesterday. The waves are coming in very, very gently and very beautifully. I'm just going to watch these penguins do some boulder hopping. And as I say that, the penguins don't want to play along with me today. As I say they're going to boulder hop, they stop moving. You can see below them we've got all these beautiful smooth rocks because they keep getting tumbled every time the waves come in and take away all the sharp edges, which is very convenient, I think, for the penguins. Although at Boulders Beach they're on granite rocks, which are really scratchy. So I don't think that they mind rough textures so much. Now these penguins look like naughty kids that don't want you to see what they're up to. They're going to go hide behind the rock there. I think they're going to disappear under the boardwalk. Boardwalk is really convenient because it allows the penguins to go to and from their nests. Oh, the cormorant's got a big fish in front of us. Do you see him there? I think it's a crowned cormorant. The fish is still alive. It is a clipfish, a massive one. Look, amazing. Do you see him? Do you see this sticky Aussie rock? This is so cool.
School is out, and in the midst of all the excitement, WildEarth has created some fun new t-shirts so that our wild kids and future conservationists can get out, run, jump, play, and explore nature freely in something that's made for a little outdoors rough and tumble. Find this and so much more on our shop. WildEarth kids, it's in your nature. We are offering our explorers another extraordinary WildEarth experience. Explorers stand a chance to win a 3-night stay for 2 at Amakhala Game Reserve, picturesquely situated next to Addo Elephant Sanctuary Park. Enjoy an authentic bush lodge experience in the luxurious Woodbury tented camp and feel the heartbeat of Africa on exhilarating safari drives. Sign up to be an explorer today and you might soon be off to this untouched safari destination with
Penguin Beaches, we're watching a crowned cormorant swallow a massive clipfish. He's got it down. It's finished. That's insane. That clipfish was massive. And that is a very small bird, and somehow it managed to get that down his throat. That was mad. He swallowed it so quickly. He was swimming around with it for quite a while. And then he just swallowed it in, what is that, 10, 20 seconds, if that? That was mad. Well done, Cormy. He's going to have a super full tummy. Sure. He had a good find today. That was amazing. We had a kill on our show, so I think the safari team are going to have to work very hard this afternoon to beat that sighting. You see, he's going to sit on the rocks now, and he's likely to dry his feathers and put his wings out just to warm himself up a bit and help him digest that clipfish. So Tessa's, there he is. There we go, right on cue. He's the cormorants want to play along with me today. Tess wants to go spend some time with the hyenas this afternoon, so she'll be spending some time at the den. James is excited to talk about what Panda will be wearing this afternoon. I'm very curious about that. I want to wear a panda suit when I meet Panda, because then you have two pandas in the same room, because I think that would be very cool. So, but I don't know what they have planned, so that seems like a very interesting thing. I'm very curious now. Ali is going walkie, so she's just going to do a nice bushwalk for you all to see what she can find. Lauren is still exploring Amakala. I hope that the weather is nice for them today. She'll be taking you through Amakala as she has been for the last month or so. Andrew had a black rhino, which is really cool, so he's hoping to see another black rhino if the bush will be in his favor. And last but not least, Sam is after sunbirds. There's a lot going on in the bush today. Jason and I are going to be with you up until Thursday. After Thursday, I will only see you on the 7th, so we have 3 days together, and then I'm going on holiday. So we're going to have an awesome 3 days talking about some cool conservation practices. As always, lovely to speak to you, lovely to show you different things. I hope you enjoyed getting to see the June star lily. Watching that crowned cormorant eat that massive clipfish was a highlight for me. We got to see a Campfire seal. We got to spend some time with our penguins. And Jason and I will be back with you tomorrow down here at Stony Point. So I hope that you have a lovely week ahead. I hope you will be talking to us about conservation over the next few days. Have a wonderful rest of your Monday. And we will see you again tomorrow. Let's just spend our last little bit of time taking in the sights and sounds down here at Stony Point.